Welcome everyone. Let's talk about making a drunkard's path block. So these are some items that you will need. So we're going to start right from the very beginning, from cutting your fabric all the way through to piecing the block. You will notice in this video my fabric does change because I was did one part of it with different set of blocks that I'd cut out, and this one is for reproducing our newest release, which is You Are My Sunshine, and so I'm making it out of some fresh fabric. So what you're going to need is a Drunkard's Path template set. So I've got the larger one out of the box at the moment. Now you notice that it has two pieces to it, the L and the pi. So you will need both of these. Looks like they don't go together, but when you cut them out and sew them, they certainly do. Useful to have is a rotary cutter. You can use the bigger one, helpful to have a sharp blade, but because of the curve, sometimes it is easier to do it with this 18mm blade. You will have to be very careful when you're cutting the curve, but just take it slow. It's not actually that difficult. So that's what we need. I'm just going to move those things out of the way. Now, the easiest way I have found to cut the blocks is to have the fabric cut into strips. And then, so I'm just going to move the yellow one into screen. I wouldn't go more than 4 layers. I have cut 4 layers, but I would only do that with a sharp blade. These, for demonstration, I'm using 2 layers of fabric, so literally the selvage to selvage width of fabric cut, and then you can cut it the same width as your template. That will change depending on the size of template you have. And then the pi, the same. So you'll notice down here it meets right on the edge, and this edge is on with the edge of the fabric. So let's start. I am going to use my larger cutter for this one and cut the selvages off. So if you have, when you're not doing it with a camera in front of you, you can actually cut it, position it so that you can more easily cut. Alright, lining up this edge and this edge. I will use the smaller cutter this time. Going quite slowly. Now my blade is not the sharpest, but I just gently tug on that to see whether it's going to make sure I've gotten through all of the threads. No, there's still a couple of bits that are missing, like that. Now start this way, with the L this way, because once you've done that piece, turn it around. Now even though my fabric is directional, I'm not worrying about that for this quilt. Even better if you have non-directional fabric, and you can see that you can save a whole heap of fabric by nesting those pieces together rather than putting this one here. Right, so turn it around. You will need to then line it all up again, hold it quite firmly, cut along that edge. So I wouldn't do this when you're rushing, that's for sure. You need to move things carefully. Hold it firmly. I'm going to use the small cutter again for the curve. I'm going to go over that one more time just because I know my blade is not the sharpest. So, probably more of a do as I say, not as I do moment. And there you have. That's how they were on the fabric, somewhere like that. Okay, no, more like that. That looks better. like that. So that's for the L shape, and then we've got 4 cut already. Same situation for the pie. I'm going to cut, lining up my top edge. Get rid of that. Alright, I'm actually going to change my strip to be this way, making sure it's all staying aligned so that I can easily cut the 2 at once. So holding firmly, you'll notice that my fingers are not protruding past, and I'm actually holding the whole template in, like, you know, well supported around it. I'm using the bigger blade this time. Now just go slowly and follow the shape. What you don't want to do is go too fast and end up cutting into your fabric up there. There you go. So this will also nest. So instead of us having to start here again, we can actually bring it down so that we're pretty much touching where the curve was last time. That saves you a whole heap of fabric over the course of a quilt. Which means you have more fabric to make more quilts. And who doesn't like that? There you go. So that is how to cut. Just reach up and grab the Drunkard's Path pie and L pieces ready to sew together. In our pattern, they will have been labelled A and B. I'm not sure which is which, but yes, they will. Either works. You've got a concave and a convex shape. These are the 2 shapes you want. Quick and easy to cut out. You'll be amazed how quickly you can cut them out. And in the next bit, you can see how we put them together. Hey everyone. Today we're going to look at sewing a Drunkard's Path block with 2 different methods. So one of them is using a special foot designed for sewing Drunkard's Path pieces together. And the other way is just to sew it using pins and your normal 1/4 inch foot. So first off, we have part A and part B, or you have your 1/4 square and the remaining part of the block. And we need to get them together, but this is a convex curve and this is a concave curve. And we actually need to sew them together starting like this, which just looks really odd. So one of the good things about the foot that was designed for sewing Drunkard's Path blocks is that there's no pinning, but you do need to hold it a certain way. So this is where we start. So let's take this to the machine. We'll do one block with the foot, then I'll change to a normal 1/4 inch foot, and we'll do it with the old-fashioned way, shall we say. So over to the machine. So this foot is already attached to my machine. My machine is not one that requires any change in the shank. I can just attach that straight to the shank that I already have. There is a little gate type thing here, like a ledge that the fabric sits up against, and that's the key, is I need to keep this edge here running right next to this ledge. The needles will do what it needs to do, but I just need to keep those 2 pieces up against that ledge. So that's where I'm going to line it up to start with, and then I will do just a couple of stitches. Alright, now so there's not a huge amount to see because I actually need to lift this one up, and you can see I'm going to be watching that I keep both edges aligned. Possibly can. There we go. Now the reason I can do that is because I'm actually lifting the top one up and I'm not rushing through. I'm just letting the machine take the fabric through. with a little set of tweezers for that last bit, but I've managed to get it to sit there. Now let's take this out. Trim threads, and you can see that it's curved. Let's come back over here to the clearer space on my table. So you can see that it was a little bit, you know, it sits weird behind the machine, but when you flatten that out, there you go. One Drunkard's Path block done without any pins. So, but if you don't have one of these feet and you'd still like to do the Drunkard's Path block, then we'll show you how to do it. So you need both pieces of your Drunkard's Path block again. Important bit. Fold them in half and just finger press that center, and the same on your curve. All right, that is enough to marry up like so. I'm actually going to sew with the white, what is white in this one, on top. Now I'm only taking a really slight bite with the pin. I'm not pinning all the way into the fabric. And now we need to manipulate the fabric so these two edges are sitting in alignment. This one here, I'm happy to take a bit more of a bite with the pin, and the same on the other end. Line those edges up. Get my other pin. Alright, so they sort of think, well, that looks like it's going to be really awkward, but it's not too bad. This piece here has a bit of a stretch to it, and we're essentially going to smooth that out whilst it's on the bed of the machine and stitch it. So we'll go back to the machine. I will take this foot off. I have to lift my foot slightly to get it off. Put my 1/4 inch foot on and put my threads to the back. Alright, the first thing will be just to do 1 or 2 stitches, making sure my edges are still aligned. I will remove that pin in just a sec. There we go. Alright, so I'm only going halfway because we've pinned that middle bit, so I don't need to worry about the other half yet. I know I'm not going to run out of fabric because I've divided it in half. So if I bring this white edge to sit neat with the raw edge of the red piece, you can see there's these creases that form here, and that's okay. They're not going to get stitched in because they're too far away from the needle. And again, just keeping that lined up and just slowly go to that middle pin. Alright, now we're up to the second half. Same sort of thing, using the bias in that curve. We're going to just, I guess, finesse is a good word, to get that all the way around. Yes, I did just sew over a pin, but it's okay. Alright, got my... If you feel like one of the creases is going to get stitched, you can always lift the foot and move the excess further up. Alright, I'm getting close, so I'm going to take that last pin out. Take my middle pin out. And we have another Drunkard's Path block. Now those little creases that come because of how we sewed that together, they'll all come out when you press it. They won't be there in your finished quilt. So the thing with the Drunkard's Path block, you can either push it towards the curve this way, or you can push it away. So depending on which way your light and darks go, I guess if you really wanted to, you could press it open. I usually press to one side. So there we have it. We have, this one was done with the traditional piecing. This one was done using the special foot designed for Drunkard's Path block. So they're not frightening. 3 pins or a special foot, and you are good to go. These are a 4-inch block, and yeah, we've got a pattern coming out with that uses Drunkard's Path. It's called You Are My Sunshine. This would be fantastic. Have fun, everyone.